this spiritual path which the Buddha laid out for us and which is still present to some extent in this world, and we have opportunity to follow it. It's kind of very complex path, it involves lots of exercises, practices, and so on. And fortunately, the way the Buddha taught it and how it was preserved by generations of monks and nuns reciting the Buddha's teachings, it was kind of very systematic and methodical. So we have these so-called lists, or it could be also called like tools for gaining knowledge. All these lists of terms. So you probably definitely know the list Dana, Sila, Bhavana, right? These three, it could be called pillars of the Buddha's practice. And if we can, we need to pay attention to and practice all of them, all three of them, Dana, Sila, Bhavana. I'm sure because you are here, you definitely practice Dana, right? This is the opportunity every day almost to practice and strengthen this pillar. And you regularly take 5 precepts, reminding oneself what Sila means. And now we have a brief opportunity to also practice this third pillar, Bhavana. And over time, it's kind of natural that knowledge of what real bhavana means and what real progress on this path means gradually. During the time, ideas about it gets changed, and eventually it is so diluted by all sorts of ideas that basically liberating potential is lost. So what I understood quite late in my monastic life, how the understanding of what progress in meditation means, how it went wrong, basically. Quite often people think that measure for how far we are on the path is some kind of special experiences in meditation. We start meditate, we are trying hard, and eventually we experience something extraordinary, right? And that's it, That's what we are trying to get. And I also held this idea for a long time, but only recently, maybe last 3 years. I have been monk for 23 years, so maybe 3 years ago. So about 3 years ago, I suddenly realized that actually we have a very nice teaching in the suttas where Buddha says what is the measure of our progress. So it's very kind of inconspicuous chain of suttas in Samyutta Nikaya, kind of short, and when one reads it, one thinks it's kind of usual, ordinary, and one would not pay attention to it, but actually if we look under the surface, that's how we are measuring progress. So in these short suttas, Buddha says, a person who has developed 5 faculties fully and completely is Arahat. The person who developed these 5 faculties just slightly less than fully, then he is on the path to Arahatship. The person who developed these 5 faculties just slightly less than that, that person is Anagami. Slightly less than that, on the path to Anagami-ship. Again, slightly less than that, then he is Sakadagami. And so on all the way down until the last step is a person who doesn't have these faculties at all is definitely Puthujjana. So this is actually how we measure how far we progressed, how well we developed these 5 faculties. So to know how far we are, we just need to check, okay, how continuously I am mindful, right? Sati, mindfulness. And if we see many lapses and gaps in mindfulness, that's what we need to focus on. So special experiences doesn't matter, Sometimes people have some special experience, decide that they are stream enterers, and then they give up and do things that they like to do, So this is not a real stage of enlightenment, because once we reach stream entry, we can never go to lower level of effort, So stream enterers naturally, because they entered the stream and the stream carries them forward, so they cannot just say, okay, now I'm stream entry, I have nothing to lose, so I can devote myself to family life and sense pleasures and so on. That's not possible. So if this happens, it means the person doesn't understand what real progress in meditation is, and this person definitely overestimated, the experience. What decides whether we are actually progressing is growth of these 5 faculties. So I just would like to remind you what these 5 faculties are. We also need to be very well acquainted with these basic lists, First list, dana, sila, bhavana. Another important list is this list of 5 faculties. This is like conceptual tool which we have in our mind. We don't need books, and we can apply it whenever we remember, and we can check, how these 5 faculties in us are doing, whether they are okay and growing or whether they are declining. Once we reach stream entry, it's impossible for these 5 faculties to decline. They can only grow. But again, they can only grow because stream entry cannot stop practicing. It's impossible since that point to stop practicing. So these 5 faculties, saddha, virya, sati, samadhi, panya. I would recommend to also familiarize oneself with the actually Pali terms. I keep remembering it in Pali, saddha, virya, sati, samadhi, panya, because these Pali terms cannot mislead you. If you use translation to whatever language you are home at, these translations can be slightly misleading. So saddha, virya, sati, samadhi, panya, and we also need to know what these terms mean, of course, in our own language, but we need to hold these translations only very lightly, and once we become very friendly with these terms, we can use just those. We can forget about translations. So saddha, as you know, is faith and confidence. Now, of course, we need to have confidence and faith in Buddha's teachings, but also we need to have confidence in ourselves that we can do it. If we start doubting that we are hopeless and it's impossible for us to develop the path and Dhamma, then it would not work, So we just, in this present moment, how confident I am that it's working for me. If there is any doubt, like weakness of the heart, this is what I need to work with, saddha. Then virya, effort, energy. How to practice, how to develop effort. I suggest that, first of all, effort should be directed to developing of sati. So we need to understand, we need to have good panya, what the sati or mindfulness is. And this is also quite interesting how, if I reflect back, how long it took, and basically it's not even finished, how I started, how was my initial understanding of mindfulness, sati, how it kept changing and developing, and how it is even changing and becoming more accurate and sharp even now. It's also kind of a process of developing better and better understanding of what sati is directly from experience. You don't take just the word in your language, mindfulness in English. It doesn't say much, mindfulness. You cannot know really, according to this word, what this quality is. So the understanding of what sati is crucial, and then we know more or less how to apply effort to keep this quality on. So, what is sati, mindfulness? If you notice that you are listening right now, right? You are listening. But most of the time you are just listening, but you don't know that you are listening. You are completely taken away of what is being said, right? Which is okay. But if you can try to keep listening and at the same time to maintain knowledge of the fact that you are listening. So this is sati, this additional quality of knowing what you are doing at the moment, or where your attention is placed in the moment. Attention, manasikara, is present in every wakeful state of consciousness, attention. Because without attention, awareness cannot arise. So just listening and being aware of what is being said, that's awareness, that vijnana, and attention is there. But at the same time, knowing that you are listening, this is something extra. And this something extra, that's sati. So we need to understand this very clearly, and clarity of this understanding is kind of natural process. It grows also with the practice. And then we have samadhi, which is stillness, ability or quality of the mind to be happy with just one object. So if we practice, for instance, breath meditation, then just bringing attention to this breath, you are watching breath, at the same time you know that you are there, which is sati. And if the mind naturally is happy to stay with this just one object, that is stillness or concentration. But I think stillness is better, how still the mind naturally is. That's what is the samadhi. And then panya, that's quite easy, simply understanding. Understanding many things, also understanding what these 5 faculties are, being able to discern them, in the mind, in the heart, being clearly aware if they are there, if they are not there, which ones are weaker, which ones need to strengthen, and also knowing how to do it. What is the right effort? What is the right effort to arise mindfulness and maintain it? How to develop samadhi, stillness, knowing that it's not through willpower but through gradual cultivation, understanding saddha. If doubts arise, doubts in oneself, then panya notices it. If I'm able to catch it quickly, that means that both sati and panya are quite satisfactory for now, and so on. So just keep this in mind, these 5 faculties, and actually it's them who measure how far we are progressed, how continuously we can be mindful, and how well we know panya, how to develop effort, virya, to develop sati, and how with growth of sati and all the other faculties, how also saddha, confidence naturally grows. Okay, thank you.